Hi everyone! Welcome to Nick's Story Time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Wishing you the money comes rolling in 2026. Alright, let's dive into today's story.
The Big Monkey. Chapter 1. Midnight Terror. In the rural Northeast, every generation has its share of evil spirits and demons used to scare children. But the shadow that has cast the deepest mark on the childhoods of generations is none other than the Great Monkey. My name is Chijin. During the winter break of my 8th year, my parents, busy with work,
sent me to my grandparents' home deep in the mountains of northeast China. It was a remote mountain village with only a couple dozen households. Low, mud brick houses from the 1990s, potholed and muddy dirt roads. Come winter nights, the lights went out early, and the deathly silent woods, shrouded in cold, exuded a sense of eeriness everywhere.
Ever since I can remember, whenever I stayed up late playing at night and refused to go to sleep, Grandma would always warn me in a hushed voice. If you don't close your eyes and go to sleep, the Big Monkey will climb over the wall and snatch you away. It'll gouge out your eyes, rip open your belly, and eat your heart and intestines raw.
These words held a deadly terror for children in northeast China. The moment they heard the words Big Monkey, even the most mischievous child would immediately pull the covers over their head and cower under the blankets, too afraid to peek out. Others dismiss this as just an old wives' tale used to scare children.
But I actually came face to face with the legendary beast and found myself personally entangled in a series of eerie events that plagued the mountain village for years. One winter evening, my grandfather's house welcomed distinguished guests. It was the Zhao family, a father and son who had made their fortune working away from home.
They hadn't returned to the village in years. While their wives stayed behind to clean the old family home, the two men brought fine wine and delicacies to my grandfather's house to catch up. The table was laden with delicacies rarely seen even in the city: roast duck, pork head meat, red sausage, and exotic fruits shipped from the south.
As a young child, I was so tempted I couldn't tear myself away. I clung to the table, clowning around to entertain the adults, drawing their constant laughter. Before I knew it, I had gorged myself until my stomach was swollen and aching. Late at night, when the whole village was fast asleep, I was suddenly jolted awake by excruciating stomach pain, rolling and moaning on the earthen bed.
My grandmother was roused by the commotion. She lit the kerosene lamp and saw at a glance that my gluttony had caused indigestion. "Hurry up and get dressed. Go to the outhouse on the back hill. Holding it in will only make it worse." Grandma deftly slipped a thick cotton jacket and pants onto me.
The outhouse in the countryside was extremely rudimentary. A few wooden poles formed a makeshift enclosure, covered with a tattered burlap sack, with only 2 narrow planks laid over the pit. One false step, and you could easily fall through. To make matters worse, it stood all alone at the foot of the hill behind the house. Behind the house lay a stretch of barren, bare mountains.
In the dead of winter, the gnarled branches of old trees jutted out menacingly in the night, and the dim moonlight cast a ghostly glow over the woods. I was terrified, but the abdominal pain was unbearable. Clutching an old-fashioned flashlight, I steeled myself and ran toward the back of the mountain.
As I squatted over the pit, struggling to ease the pain, a sudden rustling sound of chewing broke the dead silence of the cold night. The sound was dry and grating, like nails scraping a blackboard, yet it carried the crisp crackle of flesh tearing and bones being gnawed, a sound that echoed with startling clarity across the open wilderness.
Every hair on my body stood on end. My heart clenched into a knot, and the flashlight nearly slipped from my grasp into the pit. In a panic, I wiped myself clean and rushed toward the house. As I passed the Zhao family's courtyard wall, I turned my head on a whim to glance over, and that single glance nearly made me faint on the spot.
In the pale moonlight, a massive, pitch-black figure crouched in the center of the Zhao family's courtyard, clutching something in its arms and gnawing on it with its head down. Blood dripped ceaselessly from the corners of its mouth, staining the frozen ground beneath its feet red. Every now and then, it would pause its chewing and tilt its head back to gaze at the waning moon.
In that moment, I saw its full form. A horse-like, elongated, monstrous face, round, vertical pupils like copper bells, a mouth full of menacing fangs, and a body covered in thick black fur that glinted with a cold, icy sheen in the moonlight. It was taller and more imposing than a grown, burly man, a demon straight out of hell. 3 words exploded in my mind. Great horse monkey.
Recalling the legends my grandmother had told of it, gouging out eyes and ripping out intestines, and glancing at the blurry object in its arms, my scalp tingled with horror, and cold sweat instantly soaked through my cotton coat. I clamped my hand over my mouth, not daring to make a sound for fear of startling the beast.
I quietly slipped off my cotton shoes, stepped barefoot onto the icy mud, and slipped back to my front door under cover of darkness. Fortunately, the door hadn't been shut tightly when I left. I pushed it open gently and crawled into the room, my limbs stiff as I climbed onto the earthen bed. I wrapped myself tightly in the quilt, shivering uncontrollably.
Grandma reached out to touch my hands and feet. They were ice cold. Seeing me huddled under the covers, shivering uncontrollably, she assumed I'd simply caught a chill during the night. I clenched my teeth tightly, too afraid to mention the encounter with the great monkey. With my eyes closed, the bone-chilling sound of gnawing echoed endlessly in my ears.
Fear kept me awake. I had only one thought. As soon as dawn broke, I would have my parents come and take me back to the city, never to return to this eerie mountain village. In the cold, deep mountains, with demonic shadows lurking, I never could have imagined that this terrifying encounter was merely the beginning of a series of tragic incidents in the mountain village.
And that the great monkey's revenge had only just begun. Chapter 2. A major incident at the neighbor's house. After a night of restless terror, I slept fitfully until the sun was high in the sky. The wall clock had already struck 11. Usually, Grandma would call me to get up for breakfast around 7, but today was unusually quiet.
Trajan, hurry up and get dressed to eat. Why did you leave your shoes at the courtyard gate? Grandma looked grave as she helped me get dressed, muttering under her breath. The moment I heard the word shoes, the terrifying memory of encountering the giant monkey last night flooded my mind. My blood ran cold and I shrank back to the corner of the bed.
Burying myself deep under the quilt, my whole body shaking uncontrollably. Seeing this, Grandma panicked and rushed out to call Grandpa back. When Grandpa came in and saw me like this, he assumed I was just throwing a childish tantrum. "Stop acting up. I've already called your dad. I'll have him come pick you up and take you back to the city this afternoon."
Hearing that I could go home, I finally mustered the courage to crawl out from under the covers. Grandma brought me some warm water to wash my face. Just then, a commotion erupted from the Zhao family next door. Cries, shouts, and whispers rose and fell as the yard filled with villagers. Clutching my rice bowl, I couldn't help but ask, "Grandpa, what's going on at Uncle Chung Chai's house?"
Why are there so many people here? Grandma immediately cut me off, forbidding me to ask any more questions. She kept piling food onto my plate, urging me to finish eating and pack my things. My confusion only grew and I blurted out, "Grandma, I saw a giant monkey last night, right in the Zhao family's yard. It was gnawing on something the whole time."
Don't talk nonsense. You're just a kid who mistook a dream for reality at night. There's no such thing as a giant monkey. Grandma's expression suddenly darkened. She deliberately ignored my words, hurriedly packing my clothes and backpack as if she couldn't wait to send me away. I was completely baffled.
Grandpa and Grandma usually doted on me like the apple of their eye and would never let me suffer the slightest injustice. Yet today they were in such a hurry to send me away, their expressions full of concealment and panic. Just as I was waiting with my backpack for my parents to pick me up, Uncle Nung, the only person in the village with a car,
burst into the courtyard, his face ashen, shouting, "Uncle Chen, it's terrible. There's been a landslide at the village entrance. Falling rocks have completely blocked the mountain road. People from outside can't get in and villagers can't get out." Grandpa immediately followed Uncle Nung to the village entrance to check it out.
Grandma, Worried, called a few villagers to go with her. Left all alone in the vast courtyard, I couldn't sit still. I couldn't help but sneak over to the main gate and peer through the low earthen wall at the Zhao family's courtyard. Almost everyone in the village, men, women, and children, was gathered there, and the atmosphere was incredibly oppressive.
Just then, village chief Wang Hongbo hurried by. I quickly called out to him, "Uncle Wang, what exactly happened at the Zhao family's place?" The village chief glanced down at me, gave me a shove toward the courtyard, and warned in a grave tone, "Kids shouldn't be running around. Go back inside and lock the door."
No sooner had he spoken than heart-wrenching wails suddenly erupted from the Zhao family's courtyard. Grandma Zhao and her daughter-in-law were slumped on the ground, pounding the earth in grief. Their mournful cries were so piercing they made one's heart tighten. Grandpa Zhao was crouched on the threshold, chain smoking his pipe, his face as still as death.
Yet neither the father nor the son of the Zhao family was to be seen. I grabbed the village chief's sleeve and pestered him relentlessly. Unable to withstand my persistence, he lowered his voice and revealed the truth. The Zhao family's 1-month-old twin grandchildren, a boy and a girl, were snatched and killed by a giant monkey last night.
There are bloodstains and broken bones in the courtyard, and even the children's swaddling cloths lie torn on the ground. My whole body went rigid as I instantly realized what the great monkey had been devouring last night. The Zhao family of 6 had returned home in glory, intending to stay for a short while.
No one could have imagined that on their very first night, they would face such a catastrophic disaster. An innocent infant in swaddling clothes brutally killed. This morning, the Zhao family's daughter-in-law woke up to find the child missing. The whole family searched the courtyard in vain. When they stepped outside, they saw the bloodstains and broken bones in the yard.
Grandpa Zhao recognized his grandson's clothes and collapsed on the spot. Seeing this, the Zhao family's son's eyes turned red with rage. He grabbed a kitchen knife and charged into the back mountain, determined to fight the giant monkey to the death. I broke down instantly, grabbing the village chief and sobbing that I had seen the great monkey with my own eyes last night.
Upon hearing this, the village chief turned deathly pale, muttering, "It can't be," under his breath. His eyes filled with terror and guilt. Just as my legs were going numb from the cold, Grandpa and Grandma returned from the village entrance. Seeing me standing outside, they grabbed me and dragged me inside without a word.
The entire mountain village was cut off by a landslide, like a sealed prison, while the great monkey lurked in the shadows of the woods. No one knew who would be the next victim. Chapter 3. We all knew. As soon as I stepped inside, I urgently asked about my parents. Grandpa frowned, lit his pipe, and said in a deep voice, "The mountain path at the village entrance is blocked by boulders."
Even the excavator can't clear it right now. Your father can't get in. I've already told him to go back to the city. As soon as he finished speaking, several villagers filed into Grandpa's house, all respected elders in the village who were accustomed to seeking Grandpa's counsel in times of trouble.
Wang Hongjae, the owner of the small store, spoke up first. "Uncle Chen, this whole Zhao family affair is getting way too weird. What do you make of it?" Before Grandpa could reply, Widow Liu from the front yard spat on the ground, her tone laced with venom. "In my opinion, this is just karma. Guifeng, don't speak recklessly in front of the child."
Grandpa scolded her softly, not wanting me to hear the gossip. Though I was only 8, I keenly sensed the eerie atmosphere in the room. I turned my back and pretended to be asleep, pricking up my ears to eavesdrop on their conversation. The moment the Zhao family returned to the village, there was a landslide at the village entrance, and then something happened that very night.
There's definitely something fishy going on here. Widow Liu spoke as if to herself, yet also as if deliberately warning the others, her words concealing hidden truths that others couldn't fathom. Grandpa didn't want to discuss it any further. He waved his hand, signaling the villagers to go home, and urged each family to keep a close eye on their children and under no circumstances go out at night.
After the crowd dispersed, the intermittent wailing from the Zhao household still hung over the village. I immediately sat up and told them everything, how I'd walked home barefoot last night and seen the giant monkey with my own eyes. Grandma, who had just walked in carrying a basin of water, was startled by my words.
The basin clattered to the floor, and her face was filled with panic. No wonder you were shaking all over when you came back last night. What are we going to do? Don't worry. We'll keep a close watch on Chijin. From now on, he'll use the bathroom inside the house, and the two of us will never leave his side. As soon as the roads are clear, we'll send Chijin back to the city right away.
Grandpa's tone was firm, shielding me completely. Grandpa and Grandma have only me as their grandson. They'd risk their lives to keep me safe. But everyone knew that ever since the tragic death of the Zhao family's infant, this isolated mountain village could never return to its former tranquility. Over the next 2 days, the village appeared calm on the surface.
The adults still went up the mountain to work, yet the sounds of children laughing and playing were no longer to be heard. Every household kept their doors and windows tightly shut. The adults locked their children inside, afraid to let them step outside even a single step. The Zhao family's son had gone into the mountains with a knife for a night and returned in a daze, remaining silent all day long.
The Zhao family's grandmother cried until her eyes were red and swollen, and the daughter-in-law, deeply traumatized, clung to her only remaining granddaughter all day, refusing to let go. A eerie gloom hung over the entire mountain village. Beneath everyone's calm exterior lay a deep-seated anxiety that ran to the very marrow of their bones.
Late on the third night after the incident at the Zhao household, a piercing scream suddenly rent the night sky, shattering the dead silence of the late hour. Even I, who usually slept like a log, was startled awake and sat bolt upright. Lights flashed on throughout the village instantly, and the men from every household grabbed their hoes and sickles. Racing toward the small shop from which the screams had come, I pressed my face against the window to look out. In the darkness, 2 round yellow orbs hovered in midair, staring intently at the window with a sinister, malevolent glint. The next second, the orbs leaped forward, and the face of a monstrous monkey with a horse-like snout loomed close to the window.
Its sharp fangs were bared, and its claws were still stained with fresh blood. It was the great horse monkey. Grandma was terrified out of her wits. She grabbed me and dragged me toward the small shop. Thankfully, the great horse monkey didn't give chase. When we reached the shop, we found that nearly every woman, child, and elderly person in the village had gathered there.
After talking with the crowd, we learned that women from every household had encountered the great horse monkey at the same time that night, and all had been so terrified they fled their homes. The crowd squeezed into the courtyard, where the scene before them made their hair stand on end. Wang Hongbo, the owner of the small shop, lay collapsed beside a pickle vat, his face ashen and eyes wide open.
His thick cotton coat had been torn open by sharp claws, and his body was covered in deep, bone-deep scratch marks. His wife and daughter lay brutally murdered on the heated bed, their clothes in disarray. Their faces were clawed to a bloody pulp, their chests and abdomens torn open, intestines spilling out onto the floor.
The ground was littered with hair that had been violently yanked from their heads. A scene of utter horror. I was so terrified my throat tightened, and I couldn't make a sound. Grandma hurriedly covered my eyes and held me close. The cries of children rose and fell from the crowd. I forced myself to shout through my fear. "Stop crying, everyone!"
If you keep crying, the big monkey will come and grab you. The children fell silent instantly, huddling, trembling in their parents' arms. Just then, Yaya, the village chief's 4-year-old granddaughter, pointed tremblingly toward the woods behind the village and cried out, "A monkey! The great monkey!"
Everyone turned to look as a dark figure darted into the woods and vanished into the night in an instant. The villagers sighed in despair, lamenting the calamity that had befallen them. But Widow Leo let out a cold laugh. Don't you all know deep down exactly why this happened? With that, she turned and walked straight home,
leaving the courtyard filled with people harboring their own secrets, none daring to respond. The killing in the mountain village had already begun.
and there was no stopping it. Chapter 4. The Village Chief. Grandpa gathered the young and able-bodied men of the village to help the village chief collect the bodies of Wang Hongbo and his family of 3.
Grandma and I were filled with fear. The village chief's wife, worried we might be scared, took us and her granddaughter Yaya to stay at her house for the time being. The more of us together, the more courage we could draw from one another. I played with Yaya until late into the night. In a daze, I heard Grandpa and the village chief arguing heatedly in hushed tones.
Their voices taut as if they were disputing some hidden past. The next morning, after breakfast at the village chief's house, we all went to the village entrance to check. The massive boulders from the landslide remained completely immovable. The excavators sent by the town had worked all day, but hadn't managed to budge a single rock.
No one came afterward to clear the road, and the village became a completely isolated island cut off from the outside world. Just as everyone was at a loss, Uncle Nung came running up, panting heavily, his face flushed with sweat and panic. "Uncle Chen, village chief, hurry over and take a look. Something's happened at the Zhao family's place again."
Grandpa immediately hoisted me onto his back and rushed to the Zhao family's house. The courtyard was already swarming with villagers. In the courtyard, on a massive willow tree so thick 2 people could barely encircle it, the Zhao family's daughter-in-law, Ah Yu, hung from a branch by a thin rope, her body swaying gently in the breeze.
The back of her neck bore claw marks identical to those found on Wang Hongbo's family. Her face was contorted, her tongue hanging out, her eye sockets sunken, and her empty eyes staring blankly toward the woods on the back mountain. Her death was both eerie and tragic. Upon seeing the body, the village chief burst into tears. Ayu was none other than his own eldest daughter.
The Zhao family's son lost control of his emotions and tried to charge into the back mountain to fight the great monkey to the death, but was held back by the crowd. Grandpa Zhao aged decades overnight. Having lost his grandson and his daughter, he was utterly dejected, his face etched with despair. That beast intends to slaughter every single person in our village.
Fear alone is useless. Now we must find a way to save our lives. Grandfather acted decisively, ordering Uncle Nung and the Zhao family's son to cross the mountains to Wangmigang to summon the highly respected Mr. Li San to come out of seclusion and subdue the evil spirit. I had long heard legends about Mr. Li San. His ancestors were all hunters from the deep mountains, and he was widely recognized in Wangmigang as the village's guardian sage, a master of martial arts who understood the ways of mountain spirits and wild beasts. Once, a villager had ventured into the mountains and encountered a bear that had taken on a spirit form. It nearly licked half his face off.
It was old Master Li who drew his bow and shot the beast away, saving the man's life. In my mind, old Master Li was as formidable as a legendary martial arts hero. Nungshu and the other man didn't dare delay. They set off immediately to cross the mountain. Since the round trip would take nearly half a day, everyone could only wait quietly for help.
The little baby girl in her swaddling clothes in the courtyard was crying loudly from hunger. Grandma Zhao, her face full of impatience, muttered an insult about the money-losing brat before reluctantly getting up to prepare formula. But the moment the bottle neared the infant's mouth, the baby let out a piercing scream.
The bottle fell to the ground and shattered, and the scalding milk inside burned the child's mouth, leaving a cluster of blisters. Widow Leo couldn't bear to watch. She stepped forward, picked up the wailing infant, and gently soothed her. Seeing the cold expressions on the elderly Zhao couple's faces, she couldn't help but snap.
You clearly have no intention of raising this child. Why bring such suffering upon her? Grandpa Zhao and his wife exchanged a glance, remained silent, and showed no intention of taking the child. The village chief, looking at his own granddaughter, merely watched coldly from the sidelines before turning and walking straight home.
Widow Liu's face flushed with anger. She turned and walked away, still holding the baby, and not a single member of the Zhao family tried to stop her. Filled with confusion, I couldn't help but ask my grandfather, Yaya's grandfather is the village chief. Why won't he take in his own granddaughter? Grandfather was silent for a moment, then sighed.
Back then, I didn't understand that there was a deeply ingrained prejudice in the world called son preference. And behind this seemingly ordinary prejudice lay a secret from the past, one dark enough to destroy the entire mountain village. A series of gruesome deaths had shaken the isolated mountain village, leaving everyone in a state of panic.
Everyone was eagerly awaiting the arrival of Third Master Li, hoping he could subdue the malevolent great horse monkey and put an end to this endless slaughter. Chapter 5. Setting the trap, Uncle Nung and the Zhao family's son made a swift return, bringing Third Master Li to the village that very afternoon.
The first thing Third Master Li did upon entering the village was to examine the bodies of the deceased. Because the mountain roads were blocked, the funeral workers couldn't enter the village, so the 4 brutally murdered bodies had to be temporarily laid out in the village committee courtyard. Third Master Li lifted the white cloths one by one to examine them.
When he saw the gruesome state of Wang Hongbo and his family of 3, a flicker of pity crossed his eyes. It wasn't just any ordinary beast that attacked, it was a mountain ogre. Third Master Li put his pipe to his lips, and the village chief hurried forward to light it. Third Master, can this beast be eliminated? The villagers asked anxiously.
As the old saying goes, it's better to encounter tigers and leopards than to cross paths with a mountain demon. The great monkey is vindictive by nature and has an intense desire for revenge. It is absolutely not something an ordinary person can subdue. Moreover, the manner of these deaths is eerie. It's clearly a deliberate act of revenge, not random violence.
Third Master Li's gaze was sharp as he stared straight at the village chief. Feeling uneasy under his gaze, the village chief instinctively took a few steps back, hiding behind the old man before managing to speak. Third Master, a few years ago, the village did indeed organize a group to go up the mountain to hunt monkeys, but we've never provoked a great monkey.
In the past, when the village was poor and struggling, the villagers heard that wealthy families in the city loved to eat monkey brains, so they banded together to go into the mountains to hunt. Monkeys are rare in the northern forests to begin with. After searching all night, the group found a nest of ordinary mountain monkeys.
They killed them with homemade guns and took them to the city to sell, but no one would buy them, so they had to bring them back to the village to share among themselves. My daughter and my second son have never gone into the mountains to hunt monkeys, nor have they ever eaten monkey meat. Why were they the first to meet with misfortune?
The village chief asked, his face full of confusion. The mountain demon never kills the innocent indiscriminately. For a spirit to commit such atrocities is to defy heaven, and it will invite divine retribution. If you hadn't committed such heinous, unconscionable acts, it would never have come down from the mountains at all costs to claim lives.
Old Master Li surveyed the villagers gathered there. They exchanged glances, none of them able to fathom the reason. Widow Liu stood to one side, cradling the Zhao family's infant daughter, a faint, cold smile playing at the corners of her mouth, her expression one of clear understanding. The Zhao family's son had paid no attention to his own daughter,
And the village chief had turned a blind eye to his own granddaughter. Hidden within this atmosphere of indifference lay secrets unknown to others. I moved closer to Widow Liu and was surprised to find that the infant, who had been gaunt and frail just a few days ago, now had a plump, round face, a rosy complexion, and was sleeping soundly.
Widow Liu gently stroked my head and warned me not to wander off. As long as that great monkey isn't eliminated, it will continue to cause trouble. But since it hides in the shadows while we're out in the open, it's hard to guard against it. Third Master Li frowned deeply, fully aware of how tricky the situation was.
Grandfather pondered for a moment before suggesting, "The incidents have all occurred at the village chiefs and old Zhao's homes. Why not set traps in their courtyards and wait for it to walk right into them?" Everyone agreed. The young and able-bodied men of the village split into two groups, and, led by Grandfather and Third Master Li, hurried to the village chiefs and the Zhao family's courtyards. to set the traps. The women, children, and elderly all gathered at my house, huddling together for courage. The usually quiet courtyard instantly came alive. Playmates of the same age gathered to play, temporarily forgetting their fear, and the children's laughter slightly lightened the gloomy,
oppressive atmosphere of the mountain village. The traps were soon set well concealed and sharp enough to ensnare the beast. That night the village remained peaceful, with no screams to be heard. Yet the villagers dared not let their guard down, knowing full well that the great monkey was cunning and vicious and would never give up easily.
For several days in a row, all was calm, and no murders occurred. Yet the villagers dared not let their guard down. They no longer ventured out at will. Every household kept their doors and windows tightly locked, day and night, tearing up bed sheets to make curtains and covering the windows tightly, fearing the great monkey's gaze.
Every night, Old Man Lee led the villagers on patrols and kept watch. Diligent and dedicated, he refused to stay at the village chief's house, so he made his home at ours. Grandfather treated him to fine food and drink. The two men felt they'd met too late in life, and chatted all night long about tales of the underworld, legends of the mountains, and strange hidden occurrences from all over the land.
I sat quietly on the edge of the kang, listening with rapt attention. Unable to contain my curiosity, I leaned against Uncle Lee's son's leg and asked, "Uncle Lee, are the great mountain monkeys and ordinary mountain monkeys of the same kind? Did the great mountain monkeys come to avenge the mountain monkeys from back then?" Upon hearing this, Uncle Lee burst into laughter. In the spirit of the moment, he decided to tell me the ancient legend of the Northeast's great horse monkey. As night deepened and the lamplight flickered within the room, a long-forgotten tale of the great horse monkey slowly began to unfold. Chapter 6. The Story of the Great Horse Monkey, Part 1. The forests of northeast China have long been home to countless legends of supernatural creatures.
The foolish roe deer, the blind bear, the yellow weasel, and the white-eyed wolf are all household names. Among them, the one that strikes fear into the hearts of adults and silences children is the great monkey, a creature known for snatching children in its savage nature. Everyone knows that the bear blind is immensely strong,
capable of shattering a human skull with a single swipe of its paw, and that its tongue is covered in barbs. A single lick can cause flesh to turn inside out. Yet compared to the bear blind, the great monkey's cunning and vindictiveness strike fear deep into the hearts of people. Few people know that in ancient times, the great horse monkey lived in harmony with humans.
Gentle and loyal by nature, it was a capable helper in farmers' homes. Back then, life was hard. People were too busy tilling the fields, working, and raising families to manage everything on their own, so they tamed the highly intelligent great horse monkey to guard the home, do laundry, cook meals, and look after the children.
The great monkey was intelligent and empathetic, and knew how to show gratitude. Once taken in by a farmer, it worked tirelessly without complaint, keeping the household in perfect order and loyally guarding its master and the children, proving more dependable than even cats and dogs. As the old saying goes, dogs are loyal servants while cats are treacherous.
There was a farmer's family who kept a tabby cat. Seeing that the great monkey was deeply cherished by its master, even allowed to dine at the table, the cat grew intensely jealous and sought every opportunity to frame the monkey. While the master was away, the cat secretly scratched the child's cheek and blamed it on the great monkey.
When the owner returned and saw the child's injury, he publicly blamed the great monkey. Feeling guilty, the honest great monkey bit off his own sharp claws and guarded the child even more carefully, afraid of making even the slightest mistake. The tabby cat still refused to give up, setting trap after trap, all of which were cleverly thwarted by the wise big monkey.
Until one day, a black, scaled serpent as thick as a bowl crawled into the courtyard along a vine. The tabby cat hatched a wicked plan, provoking the serpent and luring it into the house, then hiding under the child's bed. The serpent followed the tabby cat into the house, where it was spotted by the great monkey just as he returned from fetching water.
To protect his young master, the great monkey, disregarding his own safety, charged forward to wrestle with the giant snake.
Having lost his claws, he was bitten and coiled by the venomous serpent in multiple places, suffering severe injuries and coughing up blood. At the critical moment, the family's yellow dog broke free from its leash and rushed to the scene.
Together, the monkey and the dog forced the serpent back. The gravely wounded monkey mustered his last ounce of strength to soothe the child back to sleep before collapsing, exhausted and falling into a deep slumber. When the farmer and his wife returned from the fields and saw the monkey covered in blood, crouched beside the child's bed, they mistakenly believed he had harmed the child.
Overcome with rage, they raised their hoes and beat the loyal monkey to death. The poor macaque, who had risked his life to protect his master, did not perish at the snake's fangs, but instead met a tragic end at the hands of the very master he had sworn to guard. Even more tragic was that while the macaque lay gravely wounded and unconscious, the tabby cat crawled out from under the bed and bit through the child's artery, causing the toddler's gruesome death. Yet all blame was laid at the macaque's door. From then on, rumors that the giant monkey ate children spread far and wide. Farmers lived in constant fear, terrified that the giant monkeys they kept at home might harm people. Some devised a cruel scheme,
Exploiting the great monkey's trusting nature. They pretended to ask it to help adjust the millstone's components, and the moment it reached out to touch them, they suddenly pushed the millstone forward, crushing its hands beneath it, then beat it to death with clubs. Seeing how simple this method was, other farmers followed suit.
In a short time, great monkeys were slaughtered across the land, and the species nearly went extinct. The surviving great monkeys fled deep into the mountains, forging an eternal, irreconcilable enmity with humanity. Over generations, the great monkeys grew violent and hostile toward humans.
after attaining supernatural powers through cultivation. They would often descend from the mountains to take revenge on those who had committed heinous crimes and lost all sense of morality. They were clear about who owed them what. They never harmed the innocent without cause, but only sought vengeance against those who had wronged them or committed evil deeds.
After hearing this tale, I was filled with sorrow and felt deep pity for the loyal yet wronged Great Malaysian Monkey. But before I could finish reflecting on it, Old Master Lee began recounting another horrific incident in the town where the Great Malaysian Monkey had devoured people. As the night grew darker,
The bloodshed and terror in the story made me instinctively curl up in my blankets, not daring to even breathe. Chapter 7. The Story of the Great Monkey Part 2. In the far north of northeast China, there was a bustling little town where the people lived in peace and prosperity, their lives stable and abundant, until a series of child disappearances shattered the town's tranquility.
The first to report the incident was an elderly couple. Their grandson, who usually returned home promptly after school, was nowhere to be found. The couple asked all his classmates and neighbors, but there was no trace of him. The police searched the entire town, yet found not a single clue.
From that day on, a series of child abductions occurred in the town, with all the missing children being under the age of 10. Amidst the growing panic, parents dared not let their children go out alone, and schools were forced to close. The once bustling town became eerily quiet. One night, Grandma Lee's grandson, Xiao Nao, mysteriously vanished, along with his beloved little donkey.
The family searched all night, combing through every street and alley, every field and plot of land, but found nothing. Early the next morning, a villager discovered the donkey's body by a deep lake on the outskirts of town. Its body was covered in scratches and bloodstains, and it had long since ceased to breathe. Grandma Lee rushed to report the incident to the police.
Following the trail, the officers arrived at the lake and found Xiao Nao's bloodstained, tattered clothes in the grass. The lake was deep and dark, surrounded by dense woods. Normally, no one ventured near it, making it the perfect hiding place for a killer. The police searched deep into the woods and soon found Xiao Nao's body.
The scene was horrifying. His body was covered in wounds deep enough to expose bone. His neck bore 2 gaping fang marks, and his eyes were bulging and wide open in death. It was not hard to imagine the torture he had endured. Upon comparing the bite marks on the body,
The police discovered they matched those found on all the previously missing children.
The beast responsible for these injuries was none other than the legendary Great Monkey, a creature said to devour humans and snatch children. The townspeople were terrified upon learning the truth, but the police, unfamiliar with the Great Monkey's habits, could not locate the beast's trail. The case reached a deadlock and was repeatedly delayed.
A month later, school resumed. After classes ended, a young girl waited in vain for her parents. As dusk fell, she refused her teacher's offer to walk her home and set off alone down the alley. In the dimly lit alley, a dark shadow descended from above. The massive Great Monkey instantly snatched the girl and vanished into the depths of the forest.
The girl's parents arrived late at the school and, finding their daughter nowhere to be seen, searched along the route home. All they discovered was her blood-stained backpack and a trail of blood on the ground. Terrified, they called the police. The officers followed the blood trail all the way to the deep mountains behind the town.
Deep within the forest lay a sinister cave. White bones littered the entrance, and the pitch-black opening resembled the gaping maw of a giant beast, devouring the lives of those who dared to enter. Armed and cautious, the police entered the cave. Deep inside, a troop of small monkeys made their home, with a massive, black-haired giant macaque perched in the center.
With a horse-like face and sharp fangs, it exuded a menacing aura as it tore into and devoured a lamb, its claws slicing open the animal's belly. A scene of gruesome horror. The police recognized it at a glance. This was the giant macaque, the beast responsible for the series of child abductions. Working together, they surrounded it with their weapons.
After a fierce struggle, they finally subdued the giant macaque. To prevent future trouble and stop the monkey troop from coming down the mountain to seek revenge, the police used explosives to destroy the cave, eliminating all the monkeys inside. Deep within the cave, they found the mangled remains of the previously missing child, which had long since been gnawed away. A heartbreaking sight.
With the case closed, the small town finally returned to its former tranquility. Children dared to go out and play on their own, and the streets and alleys bustled with life once more. As for the cave that had been blown up, it came to be known as the Monkey Cave and became a forbidden place in the area.
Later, it was designated as a niche tourist attraction, yet no one dared to take their children anywhere near it. After hearing the stories of the two great monkey demons, I curled up in my bed, too terrified to close my eyes. Old Man Lee laughed heartily at my timid appearance, and Grandpa, with a smile on his face, joined him in drinking.
None of us could have imagined that the calm was merely an illusion. The severely wounded great monkey demon lying in wait had already regained its strength. A new wave of slaughter was about to descend once again upon this isolated mountain village. Chapter 8. Seriously wounded. Third Master Lee was in high spirits from the wine.
After telling me the two legends of the Great Monkey, I was so terrified that I curled up in my blankets, daring to peek out only with my eyes. Third Master Lee praised me for being well-behaved and quick-witted, and Grandfather's face beamed with pride as the two continued to drink and chat. Ever since Third Young Master set traps at the village chiefs and old Zhao's homes,
The Great Monkey had seemingly vanished into thin air, not showing itself for many days. The villagers' taut nerves relaxed slightly as they discussed joining forces with the town to try once more to clear the landslide-blocked mountain road at the village entrance, hoping to restore passage as soon as possible.
But just as everyone began to let their guard down, a piercing scream once again rent the night sky, shattering the brief calm. The screams came from very close to my home, not from the Zhao families or the village chiefs' houses. Startled villagers lit lamps and rushed out, holding torches and farm tools as they ran toward the source of the sound.
Grandpa and Uncle Lee quickly dressed and got up. Uncle Lee grabbed his heirloom bow and arrow and was the first to dash out the gate. This time, the trouble was at the home of Zhang the Lam in the west courtyard, a notorious bachelor in the village. In his 40s, and living alone, he was reclusive and gloomy, with a menacing glare.
When I was a child,
I would deliberately avoid him whenever I saw him. I always felt that he looked at people like a venomous snake lying in wait, radiating a sinister, violent aura. I followed my grandmother to the door of Lame Zhang's house, where I saw the vicious giant monkey surrounded by villagers holding torches.
The giant monkey was naturally afraid of fire. Trapped by the blazing flames, it dared not break through the encirclement. It could only bare its teeth and growl, its eyes filled with ferocity as it threatened the crowd. The villagers, wary of its savagery, dared not approach it recklessly.
Old Master Li quietly circled around behind the great horse monkey, drew his bow to the full, aimed at its back, and prepared to fire. Everyone held their breath, waiting for a single arrow to end the beast's life. Just as the arrow was about to be released, a torch suddenly flew out of the crowd, hurtling straight toward the great horse monkey.
Instinctively, the giant ape dodged the torch to the side, narrowly missing its vital organs, but the arrow grazed its body and pierced its shoulder with a vicious thud. Struck in the shoulder, the great monkey instantly flew into a rage. Its ferocity surged, and no longer fearing the flames, it charged toward the crowd with claws outstretched, its roar sending shivers down everyone's spines.
Fearing he might harm the innocent, Third Master Li dared not fire another arrow and could only watch helplessly as the great monkey broke through the crowd, leaped into the night, and fled back into the woods on the back mountain. Who threw that torch? We nearly missed our chance to take it down. The village chief demanded furiously, his voice laced with rage, but no one answered.
In the chaos, everyone was panicking. No one had even noticed who had interfered. I, however, had seen it clearly. It was Widow Liu who had thrown the torch. I clenched my fists, but in the end, I swallowed my words. Third Master Li's arrow had pierced the giant ape's shoulder, inflicting a severe wound.
It would take a long time for it to recover, so it was unlikely to come down the mountain to cause trouble anytime soon. After instructing the villagers to remain on high alert, Third Master Li, unwilling to linger, set out that very night to return to Huangnigang. Later, I overheard the elders discussing the matter.
They said that Lame Zhang's death was the most gruesome in the entire village. The flesh and skin of his uninjured leg had been brutally torn away, leaving the white bones exposed. His chest and abdomen were raked with sharp claws, leaving several bloody gashes. His eyeballs had been gouged out, and his tongue was torn and dangling from his mouth.
The sight was so grotesque and terrifying that villagers who had seen the body could not bring themselves to eat for days afterward. In just over a month, 6 people in the isolated mountain village had met gruesome deaths at the hands of the great monkey, plunging the villagers into utter panic.
The village chief crouched in a corner, his brow furrowed with worry, utterly baffled. Zhang the Lam had never participated in monkey hunts, nor had he ever offended any mountain spirits or wild beasts. So why had he fallen victim to such a brutal fate?
Third Master once said that the great monkey never strikes indiscriminately in its vengeance. Surely someone in the village has committed a heinous, unconscionable act. Grandfather puffed on his pipe, carefully recalling the village's recent history, yet he remained at a loss. Grandfather suddenly turned to the village chief. When did the great monkey start killing people?
It seems to have started the day the old Zhao family returned to the village. The village chief snapped out of his daze, his forehead instantly covered in cold sweat. Despite the dead of winter, his whole body trembled, and his eyes darted about as he dared not say more. Grandfather sensed his deliberate concealment and spoke earnestly.
Warning that with the beast still at large, hiding the past would only endanger the entire village. Yet the village chief, looking panicked, used the cold weather as an excuse to hastily flee, clearly harboring a secret he dared not reveal. And that very secret was the true root of Big Monkey's vengeance.
Chapter 9. Ling day after day passed, and as the Lunar New Year approached, the mountain roads remained blocked. Trapped in the village all day, I longed to buy New Year's provisions and set off firecrackers, and I couldn't help but complain to Grandpa about when we might finally leave the mountains. Grandpa was weighed down by worries, and had no time to spare for my childish concerns.
With nothing else to do, I went out for a stroll and happened to run into Widow Leo, who was sitting in the doorway basking in the sun while holding the Zhao family's infant daughter. Widow Leo was in her early 30s and not a native of the village. She was originally from Heilongjiang. She had been married to a man from the village for only 2 years when he died unexpectedly.
Young and beautiful, she was left a widow, and had long been the subject of gossip and ostracism by the village idlers. A truly unfortunate and pitiful woman. I stepped forward and asked, "Aunt Leo, why hasn't Uncle Zhao taken the child back? It can't go on like this with you looking after her all the time." Widow Leo didn't answer directly. Instead, she motioned for me to come closer and look at the baby.
The infant in her swaddling clothes had a fair, plump little face. She stared at me with wide, innocent eyes, reached out to grab my finger, and giggled, looking utterly adorable. "I've named her Nanan," Widow Leo said, her eyes full of tenderness and her voice brimming with affection. I finally couldn't hold back the question I'd been keeping to myself.
Auntie, I clearly saw you throw the torch that night. If you hadn't, Third Master Li could have shot Big Monkey dead. Widow Leo's expression turned startled at my words. She hurriedly warned me not to mention it to anyone, her eyes filled with helplessness and pleading. Children shouldn't meddle in grown-ups' affairs.
Just pretend you didn't see anything and keep this secret, okay? I nodded blankly and promised to keep her secret. Just then, Grandma called me home for dinner, so I said goodbye to Widow Leo and hurried back to the courtyard. At the dinner table, I casually mentioned that the baby girl's name was Nanan. Grandma looked completely bewildered, muttering that the name sounded strangely familiar.
Upon hearing this, Grandpa abruptly dropped his chopsticks, his expression changing drastically. He immediately stood up, threw on his coat, and headed out. Curiosity got the better of me, so I followed closely behind Grandpa all the way to the village chief's house. The village chief and his wife were having dinner with their granddaughter, Yaya.
Seeing us arrive, they hurriedly welcomed us onto the heated bed and invited us to sit down. Grandpa cut straight to the chase without any small talk. "Hongbo, how many years has it been since your daughter Ling passed away?" Clang! The village chief's rice bowl suddenly slipped from his hand, crashing to the ground and shattering into pieces.
His face instantly turned as white as a sheet. "It's been 6 years since Ling passed away," the village chief said, his voice trembling. His wife's eyes welled up with tears, her face filled with sorrow. Only then did I realize that Ling was the village chief's youngest daughter, young and beautiful, renowned as the most stunning woman for miles around.
6 years ago, she suddenly fell ill with a strange disease, occasionally becoming delirious and violent. She was confined to a small cottage in the countryside. One day, when her family brought her a meal, they discovered she had already passed away. The villagers all assumed she had died of her illness.
Grandpa fixed his gaze on the village chief, his tone stern. "During the time Ling was sick, didn't old Zhao and Lem Zhang frequently come to your house?" The village chief lowered his head in silence, and his wife hurried to smooth things over. But grandfather wouldn't let it go and revealed the crucial detail. "I remember that back then, Ling brought home a baby monkey she'd found on the back mountain."
Those words struck like a thunderclap, causing the village chief to break down instantly. He collapsed to his knees weeping bitterly and kowtowed to grandfather, begging for mercy. Standing on the sidelines, I was completely lost, unable to grasp the connection. Yet I could clearly sense that a 6-year-old secret was about to be exposed.
The truth the village chief had deliberately concealed. Ling's mysterious death, the successive tragic deaths of Zhang the Lam and the Zhao family, and the great horse monkey's revenge. All the clues were intertwined, about to surface. And this hidden past was far darker and more depraved than Big Monkey's crimes.
Chapter 10. You reap what you sow. The village chief knelt on the ground, weeping bitterly. Finally shedding all pretense, he revealed the sordid events buried for 6 years, thereby unraveling all the mysteries surrounding Big Monkey's descent from the mountain to seek revenge. 6 years ago, Wang Hongbo was not yet the village chief, and Zhang the Lame still had both legs intact.
The village chief's family had 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters.
Their only son had suffered a head injury as a child, leaving him mentally impaired, simple-minded, and slow-witted. To save up a dowry for their mentally disabled son and ensure the family line continued, the couple went on to have 2 daughters, the eldest, Ah Yu, and the youngest, Ah Ling.
And Ling was stunningly beautiful and possessed an extraordinary grace, far surpassing the plain-looking Ayu. Wherever she went, she was the center of attention. Long-standing jealousy twisted Ayu's heart and threw her into emotional turmoil. In private, she would often beat and berate Ailing at will, sternly warning her not to tell on her.
The village chief, already suspicious of Ah Ling's striking beauty, treated her with cold indifference. When he witnessed Ah Yu bullying her sister, he turned a blind eye and deliberately condoned it. After Ah Yu married into the Zhao family, everyone thought Ah Ling would finally be free from abuse. But little did they know that an even greater nightmare was just beginning.
At Yu's instigation, her simple-minded brother broke into Ah Ling's hut late at night to assault her, while the village chief stood guard outside, deliberately keeping watch and tacitly approving, utterly indifferent to his own daughter's well-being. After suffering repeated betrayals, abuse, and torment at the hands of her own family, Ah Ling fell into utter despair and became completely deranged.
The village chief's wife, at a loss, could only lock her away in a remote outbuilding, bringing her 3 meals a day and leaving her to fend for herself. At that time, Zhang Delame, a man in his 30s who had never married, heard that Ah Ling was living alone in a state of madness. He sought her out, intending to force her into marriage for his own gain.
Seeing an opportunity to profit, the village chief immediately sent his wife away and led Zhang the Lame into the lower room. Lame Zhang saw that even though Ah Ling was ragged and dazed, she was still strikingly beautiful, and his lust was instantly aroused. In the back room, however, was hidden the baby monkey Ah Ling had once found on the back mountain.
Seeing its owner being mistreated, the little monkey threw itself at Zhang the Lame without a second thought, biting through his Achilles tendon. In a fit of rage, Zhang the Lame strangled the monkey to death and tossed its body onto the back mountain. Afterward, Zhang the Lame was left with a severed tendon in his foot, a lifelong disability, and a deep-seated grudge.
The village chief, meanwhile, jacked up the price to extort money. The two struck a sordid deal behind closed doors, wantonly trampling on Ah Ling's dignity. Hearing this, the village chief's wife could no longer contain her emotions. She grabbed a porcelain plate from the table and hurled it at the village chief with all her might.
As she pounded him, she wept and raged, accusing him of being utterly heartless and unworthy of being a father, of condoning his own family's cruelty toward their own daughter. She declared that their current suffering at the hands of the giant monkey was nothing but a case of reaping what they had sown.
Yaya was so frightened she burst into tears, and Grandpa hurriedly told me to take the child outside to keep her out of the way. Upon returning from the village chief's house, Grandpa had fully pieced together the sequence of events. The baby monkey that had been strangled and its body dumped on the back mountain all those years ago had not truly died.
It had absorbed spiritual energy deep in the mountains and cultivated itself into a great monkey demon. After all these years, it had come down from the mountains solely to avenge its savior. Ah Ling, Zhang the Lame, who committed evil deeds that left him crippled and harmed the little monkey, deserved to die.
Ayu, who had bullied her younger sister for years and had a wicked heart, met a tragic end, which was only fitting. Yet only the family of Wang Hongbo, the owner of the small shop, lost their lives innocently, becoming victims of this vengeance. Clearly, there are hidden circumstances behind this that have yet to be revealed.
The village chief continues to deliberately conceal the truth, refusing to reveal the full story, and grandfather is unwilling to press further, merely sighing helplessly. Those who sow the wind reap the whirlwind. The peaceful days didn't last long. Big Monkey's resilience far exceeded everyone's expectations.
Despite the severe wound on his shoulder, he made a full recovery in less than half a month. It happened to be New Year's Eve, and the mountain roads were still blocked.
The villagers couldn't leave the village to buy New Year's supplies, so they had to ask Uncle Nung to cross the mountains to the town to buy some cooked food and vegetables, just to get by for the holiday.
He even brought me back a few boxes of small firecrackers. The mountain village finally began to feel a little like the New Year. Every household had pasted spring festival couplets on their doors, their words all praying for peace and good fortune. As the sun set, I gathered some village friends to go out and set off firecrackers.
We tied several strings together, preparing to light them all at once. Just as I was about to step forward to light the fuse, a dark shadow flashed across the roof. I jerked my head up and saw a hideous, massive monkey crouching on the roof. Its orange-red vertical pupils had turned blood red, staring intently at us children.
A wave of malevolence swept over us, and the air froze instantly. Chapter 11. The New Year's Eve Massacre. As night fell on New Year's Eve, the festive atmosphere, tinged with a chill, enveloped the mountain village. Yet everyone was weighed down by the recent string of tragedies, leaving no heart for celebration.
My friends and I were crouched in a corner preparing to set off firecrackers, when the figure of the giant horse-faced monkey suddenly appeared on the roof above us. With a horse-like face, fangs bared, and red eyes gleaming with malice, it locked its gaze firmly on us children. My scalp prickled instantly. I quickly covered Yaya's mouth, afraid her cries might provoke the beast.
The other children froze in place. One was so terrified he wet his pants, not daring to breathe a single breath. The adults had long warned us. If we ever encountered a giant monkey, we must never make a sound or run. Making a sound would enrage it, and running would be futile against its speed. We could only hold our breath and stay completely still.
Just as we were locked in a tense standoff with the giant monkey, a massive burst of firecrackers, the 2000 red earth variety, suddenly erupted from Uncle Nung's house. The deafening crackle and boom echoed through the mountain village. The piercing sound startled the giant monkey. It flickered and leaped into the woods behind us, vanishing in an instant.
Before it left, I clearly saw its blood-red eyes deliberately fixated on Yaya in my arms, revealing a hint of complex emotion. Only after the beast had departed did the children dare to burst into tears. I forced myself to stay calm, clutched Yaya tightly, and hurried to the village chief's house to warn him and his wife to be on high alert.
Then I raced home to break the news. I burst through the door, flushed and panting. Seeing me like this, Grandma was terrified and panicked. It took me a while to catch my breath before I could tell her about encountering the great monkey. Upon hearing this, Grandpa turned pale with shock, but quickly realized Ling passed away on New Year's Eve.
The great monkey appearing tonight means it's come to claim the village chief's life and seek revenge. Grandpa didn't dare delay. He threw on his cotton-padded coat and rushed to the village chief's house, intending to warn them to be on guard against traps and to stay vigilant. But no one could have imagined that the great monkey's target wasn't the village chief at all.
I was sitting inside watching the Spring Festival Gala, having deliberately turned the TV volume down low, when suddenly I heard violent thuds and screams coming from old Zhao's house next door, mixed with the spine-chilling sound of flesh being chewed. A creaking noise exactly like the one I'd heard on that night when I was 8.
Grandma's face turned deathly pale in an instant. She immediately pulled me under the covers, turned off the lights, and drew the curtains tight. The whole room fell into dead silence. In the darkness, the crunching sounds and screams gradually faded until they fell completely silent, leaving only the sporadic sounds of firecrackers on New Year's Eve drifting in from afar,
sounding particularly eerie and desolate. 20 minutes later, the firecrackers died down, and the sound of a basin hitting the floor came from outside. Grandma and I clung tightly to each other, our bodies trembling uncontrollably. A moment later, Grandpa pushed open the door and returned, his face grave and weary.
Grandma hurriedly asked about the Zhao family's situation, lowering her voice as she said, "There was a commotion at the Zhao residence right after you left, but now there's not a sound. It's almost certain they've fallen victim to the great monkey demon.
Grandpa furrowed his brow, filled with doubt. Logically speaking, there were traps set up in the Zhao family's courtyard.
I didn't hear the sound of any mechanisms triggering. For this great monkey to have avoided the traps and committed such a crime, its cultivation must be profound and unfathomable. If it sought revenge, it should have targeted the village chief. Why is it fixated on the old Zhao family? Grandma hurriedly stopped Grandpa, forbidding him from going out to investigate in the dead of night.
The night was pitch black, and dangerous beasts lurked. Going out recklessly would only be a suicide mission. After much deliberation, Grandpa could only swallow his frustration and give up, deciding to wait until the first day of the new year when the village was bustling with people paying New Year's calls, and then go to investigate together.
On this New Year's Eve, there was no joy of family reunion, no festive atmosphere of dumplings. Only endless fear and desolation remained. The entire village was in a state of panic, and no one dared to sleep soundly. Everyone knew that the great monkey had broken free from the trap, and with its thirst for vengeance still unquenched, the village's ordeal was far from over.
Chapter 12. The Ma family of the Northeast. In deep mountain villages, dawn comes late. On the morning of the first day of the Lunar New Year, the rooster crowed early to herald the day. In previous years, my parents would return home for the holiday, but this year the mountain roads were blocked, leaving only me and my grandparents to stay up all night together.
I got up early to pay my New Year's respects to Grandpa and Grandma and ask for red envelopes. After putting on my new cotton jacket and washing up, I sat waiting for the villagers to come and pay their New Year's calls. At 7:10 a.m., as the sky began to lighten, Uncle Neng and the village chief came to our door to offer their New Year's greetings.
The two of them handed me some candy and sat on the edge of the kang, chatting with Grandpa. "Hongbo, it's truly a blessing that you were safe and sound last night," Grandpa said with a sigh of relief. "It's all thanks to Uncle's late-night warning. My whole family stayed on high alert all night, which is how we narrowly escaped disaster," the village chief said gratefully.
After discussing it, the group decided to go together to old Zhao's house to check on the situation. I quietly followed behind them. Grandpa gave his silent approval and didn't stop me. When we reached the Zhao family's gate, we knocked for a long time but received no answer. The courtyard was deathly silent. A sense of foreboding rose in our hearts.
The village chief picked up a stone and smashed the window glass, then reached in to pull open the courtyard gate. The moment the gate swung open, a pungent stench of blood mixed with the heat from the fire inside hit us like a wave, so overpowering it made us want to vomit. Stepping inside, the scene before us was nothing short of a living hell, a sight too gruesome to behold.
Old Zhao was clinging desperately to the stovepipe, his face pressed against the scorching wall of the stove. His skin was so badly burned it was unrecognizable. The flesh on his hands was charred, his cotton coat was scorched with holes, and drops of blood and grease sizzled as they fell onto the stove grate. Old Mrs.
Zhao lay slumped against the bedside cabinet, her neck torn to shreds by sharp claws. Her head had been wrenched clean off and lay at her feet, her eyes wide open, staring at her own headless body. Blood had soaked half her shirt at the shoulders, and her arms hung limply. The slightest movement caused them to fall off with a thud.
The walls, curtains, ceiling, and newspaper-covered walls were splattered with dark red blood everywhere, creating an eerie, oppressive, and suffocating atmosphere. The crowd forced back their nausea and stepped into the bedroom of the Zhao family's son. The Zhao family's son had long since ceased breathing. His body had been gnawed to pieces, his death a scene of utter horror.
Overnight on New Year's Eve, the entire Zhao household had been wiped out. The great monkey had somehow managed to evade every trap, committing the murders before calmly departing. Its methods were utterly bizarre. The villagers were plunged into utter despair. If even the traps meticulously set by Third Master Li could not stop it.
Who could possibly stand a chance against this mountain demon in the future? We have no choice but to try anything. We must go to West Huangni and ask Master Yu to come to our aid. Grandfather pondered for a moment before making his decision. Huangni Gang is divided into East and West Huangni.
In East Huangni lives the hunter, Mr. Immortality.
Li, who is well versed in the ways of the wild beasts of the mountains. In West Huangni lives Mr. Yu, the exorcist, who is renowned throughout the surrounding villages for his ability to detect evil spirits and subdue demons. He specializes in resolving cases of demonic possession, spirit possession, and the chaos caused by malevolent spirits.
Someone voice their concern. Third Master, the Great Horse Monkey, is a mountain demon. Master Yu specializes in catching ghosts. Can he subdue a mountain demon? There's no other option right now. We'll also invite Third Master Li. If the two of them join forces, perhaps they can save the entire village.
Grandfather brought out his prized collection of fine wine and tea and asked Uncle Nung to take the gifts over the mountains to their homes, offering a thorough and earnest plea for them to come to our aid. Curious, I pressed Grandfather for details about Mr. Yu's background. He explained slowly. Mr. Yu is a disciple of the Ma family's exorcist lineage from the northeast.
The Grand Master of their sect is an enlightened dragon spirit. Even ordinary mountain spirits and wild monsters bow their heads and make way when they see him. Are there really dragons in this world? I asked, my eyes brimming with curiosity.
Of course there are. That is a snake immortal from the Liu family who has attained enlightenment, transformed into a dragon, and is devoting himself to cultivation. One day he will shed his skin and become a true dragon. Grandfather's words offered some comfort to my frightened heart and added a final glimmer of hope to our mountain village, which was in dire straits. Everyone was eagerly awaiting the arrival of Mr. Yu and Third Master Li, hoping they would subdue the great horse monkey and put an end to this endless slaughter. Chapter 13. To the death. On New Year's Day, the entire village had no heart for festive greetings or celebrations.
The village chief gathered the villagers to move the bodies of the Zhao family victims to the village committee office for storage. Panic gripped the community. Regardless of whether they were good or evil, everyone feared becoming the great monkey's next target. The village chief's wife sat dazed and forlorn to one side, while Yaya, left unattended,
stood alone in the courtyard, her eyes filled with fear. I felt a pang of pity and was just about to step forward to comfort her when Widow Liu walked over. Holding Nanan in one arm, she reached into her pocket with the other and handed Yaya some candy, soothing her gently. Before long, Uncle Nung returned, covered in dust and mud, his pant legs caked with dirt.
Clearly he had endured a perilous journey over mountains and through valleys. Thankfully, he had successfully brought both Mr. Yu and Third Master Li. I had assumed that the famed exorcist, whose reputation had spread far and wide, would be a white-haired elder like Third Master Li. To my surprise, Mr.
Yu was only in his early 20s, with gentle features and a refined demeanor. He looked like a freshman college student, and there was no sign whatsoever of his ability to drive out evil spirits and subdue demons. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, Mr. Yu said bluntly, "Take me to the crime scene first."
The villagers led Mr. Yu into the Zhao family compound, while Third Master Li remained inside to meticulously inspect the traps and mechanisms he had set up, checking for any damage or flaws. Mr. Yu surveyed the layout of the house, its energy flow, and feng shui from top to bottom. After a moment, he frowned and said, "There is no lingering yin energy within the house, nor any signs of malevolent spirits invading the premises. This is not the work of ghosts." Uncle Nung hurriedly recounted the entire story of the Great Monkey's revenge and his string of killings. After listening, Mr. Yu swept his sharp gaze over every villager present, and an aura of authority suddenly emanated from him.
So imposing that no one dared to meet his eyes. Mountain spirits never descend to cause trouble without cause. There must be a karmic debt or grudge involved. What guilty secrets is your village hiding? Grandfather invited Mr. Yu to his home and pressed the village chief to confess in full detail what had happened to Ah Ling all those years ago and the past misdeeds of the villagers.
After hearing all the hidden truths, Mr. Yu slammed his fist on the table, his face contorted with indignation. As a father, to harm one's own daughter in such a way, it's utterly despicable. Seeing this, Grandfather immediately clasped his fists in a bow, pleading with Mr. Yu to come to the rescue of the entire village. Mr. Yu closed his eyes and sat in meditation for a moment.
When he opened them again, his gentle demeanor had completely vanished, replaced by an imposing, commanding presence. His gaze was as sharp as a blade, and a faint, dragon-shaped shadow flickered briefly around him before vanishing in an instant. "Where is Liu Cui of the Liu family?" Mr. Yu bellowed, his voice booming like a great bell, causing everyone in the room to hold their breath.
As soon as the words fell, a yellow-scaled earth snake, as thick as a rolling pin and over 2 meters long, slowly crawled into the room from outside. Seeing a live snake in the dead of winter, everyone recoiled in terror. The earth snake crawled to Mr. Yu's feet, raised its head, and flickered its tongue, as if awaiting orders.
It then nodded in acknowledgement and turned to crawl back out of the courtyard. More than an hour later, the snake returned, circling Mr. Yu and hissing softly, as if reporting news. As he listened, Mr. Yu's brow furrowed deeper and deeper. Suddenly, he slammed his palm down, and the thick wooden table instantly shattered into splinters.
He glared coldly at the village chief, who was kneeling on the ground, trembling, and said in an icy tone, "You dared to deliberately conceal the truth from me. I have no desire to get involved in this matter. You have brought this upon yourselves, and you will have to pay with your lives." Grandfather and Uncle Nung hurried forward to restrain Mr. Charon.
You, pleading with him and begging for mercy, terrified that he might turn and leave, abandoning the entire village to the great monkey's slaughter. Mr. Yu remained impassive, unmoved by their pleas. Finally, he spoke the truth in a flat tone. "In light of your desperate pleas, I'll tell you plainly that Great Monkey is consumed by an intense obsession.
As for his quest for vengeance, it will not end until one of you is dead." With that, he made no further delay. After a brief farewell to Third Master Li, he turned and walked away directly. Before leaving, he gave me a long, meaningful look. Mr. Yu's resolute departure, leaving behind the words, "Until one of us dies," instantly shattered the villagers' last shred of hope. The timid women burst into tears on the spot, accusing the village chief of concealing the past and dragging the entire village down with him. The mountain village plunged completely into the abyss of despair. Chapter 14. The drama. Mr. Yu stormed off, leaving behind a threat of a fight to the death.
The villagers instantly fell into panic, swarming around the village chief and hurling accusations at him. No matter how much the crowd shoved and cursed, the village chief clenched his teeth and refused to reveal the final, hidden secret. Grandpa, filled with despair, watched the villagers squabbling and shifting blame on the ground.
He angrily rebuked them, accusing them of being bullies only within their own circle and too cowardly to face the great monkey directly. He then went off alone to gather planks and tools, sawing and sanding wood in the courtyard to rebuild the wooden table that Mr. Yu had smashed to pieces. Cigarette butts littered the ground, and his heart was heavy with sorrow.
Grandma sat by the king, silently wiping away tears, as the entire house was shrouded in a suffocating sense of gloom. Third Uncle Li strolled into the courtyard. Seeing Grandfather's furrowed brow, he offered a suggestion. "Old friend, I have a risky plan that might trap the Great Monkey. Rumor has it that the mountain demon, the Great Monkey, is fond of opera."
We'll set up a makeshift stage at the village chief's house. Perform an opera to lure it out, and I'll set up a trap to capture it. But this plan is extremely dangerous. If we fail to trap it, we'll enrage the Great Monkey, and the entire village will suffer the consequences. Third Uncle Li said solemnly, outlining the risks. Grandfather pondered for a moment.
Deciding it was better to take a chance than sit idly by and wait for disaster. He immediately used the village loudspeaker to summon all the male villagers to discuss a plan. A few bold and curious women also joined the gathering. The villagers quickly split into two factions. One favored luring the monkey with opera and fighting to the death.
The other refused to provoke it, hoping the great monkey would only seek revenge on its enemies and spare the innocent. The Zhao family's 1-month-old infant never did anything wrong, yet still met a tragic end. Who can guarantee it will spare innocent villagers? Uncle Nung's words struck a chord with everyone, leaving the opposition speechless.
The villagers immediately settled on a plan. The performance to lure the monkey would take place on the night of the 4th day of the Lunar New Year. Several families in the village had backgrounds in the theater troupe and were skilled in singing and acting, yet they were extremely reluctant to take the stage. The stage was a glaring target.
And if the giant monkey became enraged, the performers would be the first to suffer. Finally, the descendants of the troupe put forth a condition. On the night of the performance, every man, woman, and child in the village must be present, sharing in the blessings and facing the dangers together, ready to die together if necessary. No one dared refuse.
Once the plan was finalized, the village's young and able-bodied men worked through the night to build the stage. Following Old Master Li's instructions, they paid meticulous attention to every detail, fearing that the cunning great monkey might spot any flaws. Old Master Li, meanwhile, refurbished the traps and mechanisms at the village chief's house, reinforcing the defensive formations to ensure absolute safety. During the days of preparation, the entire village was gripped by fear, yet Widow Leo remained remarkably calm and fearless. Every day, she would visit neighbors with her little girl in her arms and often brought food and clothing to Yaya. I ran into Widow Leo and couldn't help but ask, "Auntie, everyone is afraid of Big Monkey.
Why aren't you the least bit worried?" Widow Leo gently stroked Nanan's cheek and said softly, "I've never done anything wrong, so naturally I have nothing to fear. Remember this, the great monkey only kills wicked evildoers. He never harms the innocent and the good." I nodded, half understanding, but my heart remained filled with doubt. Why hadn't the innocent Zhao family's infant been spared?
Days slipped by quietly amid the tense preparations. The 4th day of the Lunar New Year arrived as scheduled. The stage was erected, the traps and formations set in place. All that remained was for nightfall to descend, for the play to begin and the monkey to be lured out. A scheme that staked the lives of the entire village was about to officially begin.
Chapter 15, The Illusionary Realm, Part 1. As night fell on the 4th day of the Lunar New Year at exactly 7 o'clock, the courtyard of the village chief's house was bathed in dim yellow light, the atmosphere oppressive and heavy. It was supposed to be a joyous new year, yet now the entire village had gathered before the stage, every face etched with sorrow.
Even the children were unusually well behaved, huddling quietly in their parents' arms, too afraid to laugh or play. The sky was as black as ink. The dim yellow lights brought no warmth, but instead made the entire courtyard seem eerie and sinister. Holding Yaya in my arms, I was about to walk over to sit with Grandpa and Grandma when Widow Leo in the corner beckoned to me, motioning for me to sit beside her.
Grandpa let out a soft sigh, silently giving me permission to go over. No sooner had I settled in than gongs and drums blared from the stage, and the actors began to sing in high-pitched, wailing tones. The melody was melodious and lingering, and the play told the story of a beautiful woman who had married far from home.
After her husband's unexpected death, the young widow endured the gossip of her neighbors and the bullying of others, living a lonely and difficult life with no one to rely on. I instinctively glanced at Widow Leo beside me. The woman's plight in the play mirrored Widow Leo's own experience of being ostracized as a widow. Tears welled up in Widow Leo's eyes, filled with a sorrow she could all too well relate to. The plot took a turn. The despairing woman decided to hang herself on the back mountain but was saved by a kind-hearted young girl coming down the hill. The two found a deep connection, becoming close confidants who comforted each other through their shared suffering.
The girl's pure and gentle nature brought warmth to the widow's bleak life, but tragically, just 2 years later, the girl suddenly passed away from illness, leaving the widow alone once more. As the play reached this point, the villagers in the audience wept, but the village chief sitting in the front row was drenched in sweat and looked frantic.
The original script had not been such a tragic tale. It was clearly a deliberate adaptation, with every line piercing his hidden past, as if intent on exposing his sordid history to the public.
Stop singing, everyone! Stop right now! The village chief lost control of his emotions, leaping to his feet to try to halt the performance.
Just then, a sudden chilling gust of wind swept through, causing the lanterns to flicker erratically. The crowd held its breath in tense silence as they watched the great horse monkey rise to his feet. He strode into the courtyard like an ordinary man, advancing step by step toward the village chief.
His horse-like face and vertical pupils radiated a menacing aura as he fixed his gaze on the panicked village chief. "Get out of the way!" Old Master Lai bellowed. The village chief snapped out of his daze and scrambled to the side, narrowly avoiding the great horse monkey's claws as they swiped at his head. Just then, Third Master Lai pulled the trap rope. The ground beneath the great horse monkey's feet suddenly collapsed, sending him plummeting into the carefully laid trap. Heavy stone slabs dropped instantly, sealing the trap's exit shut. The moment the great horse monkey was trapped, the villagers' emotions erupted. They grabbed their hoes and shovels and closed in.
Some suggested pouring boiling water on it, others advocated throwing firewood to burn it, and still others wanted to pour pesticide to poison it. Under the lamplight, their faces looked hideous and terrifying. I watched the great monkey's furious growls from within the trap, then looked at the villagers' ferocious expressions, and for a moment, I couldn't tell which of them was the true beast.
Just as the crowd was arguing fiercely, the howling from the trap abruptly ceased. The scene before my eyes suddenly warped and shifted. The surroundings blurred and shifted out of place, plunging me instantly into a realm of illusion. Every villager present had a vacant stare, as if their souls had been stolen, trapped in the illusion with no way to escape.
Third Master Li's face turned pale as he cried out in alarm. "This is bad! It has reached a high level of cultivation. It can manipulate illusions and has dragged everyone into the illusion born of its obsessive fixation. Ordinary great horse monkeys can only use their urine to create crude illusions, but this mountain demon, having cultivated for many years,
is now capable of weaving a complete illusion, manipulating people's thoughts and emotions, and dragging everyone into its long-buried memories. A chilling illusion enveloped the entire courtyard as scenes of misery, despair, and desolation slowly unfolded. Ling's turbulent and tragic life was about to be laid bare before everyone's eyes.
Exposing the vilest original sins of the village chief and his entourage. Chapter 16. The Illusion, Part 2. The moment they were drawn into the illusion, a vision of a delicate teenage girl appeared before everyone's eyes. It was Ling in her youth. Ling had a mentally disabled older brother who was violent by nature and would frequently threaten and bully her.
She also had an older sister, Yu, who was plain-looking and narrow-minded. In their youth, the two had been inseparable, but as Ling grew more and more beautiful, Yu's jealousy swelled, and in private, she constantly marginalized and maliciously bullied her younger sister. In public, the village chief pretended to be impartial, treating his two daughters equally.
Behind closed doors, however, he was cold and distant toward Ling, his heart filled with suspicion and prejudice. Only the village chief's wife truly loved her younger daughter, offering her the only warmth she knew. One day, Yu heard neighbors scaring children with tales of a giant monkey in the back mountains that preyed on pretty little girls.
A wicked thought took hold of her. As the sun set, she lured the young Ling deep into the mountains, intending to let the wild beasts there take her sister's life. Helpless and terrified, Ling got lost in the woods. By chance, among the withered grass and old trees, she discovered a baby monkey on the verge of freezing to death.
This little monkey had a face narrower and longer than that of ordinary monkeys. It was the vengeful beast in its juvenile form. Kind-hearted, Ling couldn't bear to let the little monkey freeze to death. She unbuttoned her cotton coat, wrapped it around the monkey to keep it warm, and stumbled her way out of the deep mountains, returning safely to the village.
Nanan, where have you been? I've been waiting for you.
The village chief's wife stood anxiously by the door, overjoyed to see her daughter return. Aling, being sensible and well-behaved, did not mention the injustice of being deceived by her older sister. She silently carried her meal back to the small hut where she lived alone.
Housing was tight at home, so Aling lived alone in a small room converted from a woodshed. She secretly hid the little monkey inside and saved food from her own meals to feed it, one bite at a time. The little monkey gradually regained its strength and became lively and active, but was accidentally spotted by Ayu.
Ayu immediately threatened Aling to get rid of the little monkey, warning that if she didn't, she would let her dim-witted brother beat it to death. Terrified by her brother and sister's tyranny, Aling could only tearfully return the little monkey to the back mountain. She made a mark on an old tree as a landmark, often sneaking food to it,
and urged the little monkey to stay well hidden from the wild beasts of the forest. As the years passed, Aling blossomed into a stunning beauty, recognized as the most beautiful woman in the surrounding villages. Yet her life grew increasingly tormented. Yu's jealousy knew no bounds. Even after her marriage, she frequently returned to the village to secretly pinch,
twist, and berate Aling to vent her resentment. Her simple-minded brother spent his days staring at her with lecherous eyes, harboring ill intentions. Meanwhile, the village chief, though he repeatedly witnessed his daughter being bullied, chose to turn a blind eye and coldly avoid the situation.
Filled with sorrow, Aling did not want to hurt her loving mother, so she could only endure it in silence. When she felt lonely and helpless, she would sneak into the back mountain to be with the little monkey, pouring out all the bitterness in her heart and the injustices of her life. The little monkey understood human emotions.
It would sit quietly on a branch, listening, its eyes filled with pity and compassion. After years together, the girl and the monkey became each other's sole comfort. The little monkey gradually grew up, its face becoming increasingly elongated, beginning to resemble a full-grown great monkey. Yet it remained forever grateful to Aling for saving its life and raising it.
The scenes in the illusion largely matched the old stories the village chief had previously revealed, yet everyone knew this was merely the tip of the iceberg. The true secret, one so heinous it would enrage both gods and mortals, driving the great monkey to defy heaven itself in pursuit of vengeance, remained hidden in the subsequent scenes of the illusion.
It was also the ultimate original sin that the village chief refused to confess even unto his death. Chapter 17. The Illusion 3. Unbearable Heartache. The scenes in the vision shifted. That day, Aling went to the back mountain as usual with some food. When she reached the old tree with the mark, she was startled to see a woman hanging from the beam. It was the young widow Liu Guifan, Widow Liu.
Aling hurriedly summoned Little Monkey, and together they managed to rescue Liu Guifan from the noose. Recognizing her as the village's unfortunate widow, Aling gently comforted her. The two women, both with tragic pasts and having endured the world's cold indifference, bonded instantly, finding mutual understanding and sympathy.
Liu Guifan wept as she told Aling of the humiliation and hardships she had endured since becoming a widow, while Aling confided in her about the pain of being bullied by her own family and left completely alone. From then on, the two often met on the back mountain, pouring out their grievances to one another and offering each other encouragement.
They became confidants who shared everything, and this friendship became the only ray of light in their otherwise bleak lives. Little Monkey crouched quietly in the treetops, watching the two women below as they alternated between weeping and laughing, silently guarding his benefactors. The good times were fleeting.
When Aling failed to appear on the back mountain for 3 consecutive days, Liu Guifan grew worried. She ventured into the mountains twice to wait for her, but to no avail. With no other choice, she risked going to the village chief's house to check on her. However, the village chief and his wife, disdaining her for her tarnished reputation, how you wept her, woblo up salumbers of the way, what a fama war. Dig, kanding imentab a kamar you kawana semming. as if it were working.
Refused to let her in, merely lying that Ah Ling was seriously ill and recuperating behind closed doors. Little Monkey sensed something was amiss and grew worried. He sneaked into the village chief's house to search for Ah Ling. After combing through the main house and the woodshed without finding a trace of her, he was finally drawn by the sounds of struggling and sobbing coming from a secluded outbuilding.
He deftly leaped onto the windowsill and discovered the window had been tightly sealed with newspaper, yet he could clearly sense that Ah Ling was trapped inside, suffering torment. The little monkey was frantic with worry. It hopped back and forth around the outbuilding but couldn't find an entrance.
All it could do was listen through the wall, heartbroken, to the sounds of struggle and pleading coming from inside. After an unknown amount of time, the commotion inside gradually subsided, and the door slowly opened. Seizing the moment, the little monkey slipped into the lower room. There, it saw Ah Ling, tightly bound with hemp rope, her mouth stuffed with rags.
Her clothes were in tatters, her body covered in wounds, and her skin was laced with bruises she had endured in human torture. The moment Ah Ling saw the little monkey, tears streamed down her face. Weakly, she gestured for it to flee immediately, not wanting to drag it into this. In the days that followed, the village chief's wife brought food on schedule,
But others with evil intentions would often burst into the lower room as well. Sometimes it was the mentally impaired, foolish brother who would unleash his violence without restraint. Sometimes it was the psychologically twisted older sister, Ah Yu, who would beat and berate her to vent her resentment. Sometimes it was the village chief's younger brother who would take advantage of the situation to trample on Ah Ling's dignity. And there was also Zhang Dalame, a man in his 30s who had yet to marry, who would burst into the room while drunk to commit acts of violence. Little Monkey witnessed every single act of cruelty, each one piercing his heart with pain.
Finally, when Zhang the Lamb attacked again, Little Monkey could endure no more. He lunged forward, biting and fighting back, and with a desperate struggle, bit through Zhang the Lamb's Achilles tendon. He himself was beaten to the brink of death by the enraged Zhang the Lamb, and his body was carelessly discarded on the hillside behind the village.
As Little Monkey's consciousness began to fade, he opened his eyes once more to find himself lying in a clean little hut, with the sound of Liu Guifan's soft sobbing in his ears. It turned out that Liu Guifan, having waited a long time without seeing Ah Ling and Little Monkey, had been secretly watching the village chief's house.
She happened to catch Zhang the Lame throwing Little Monkey's body onto the back mountain, so she quietly retrieved it to tend to his wounds. She had also secretly witnessed the village chief's younger brother bribing his way into the lower house to commit atrocities. When the village chief's daughter-in-law caught him, instead of stopping him,
she publicly berated and beat Ah Ling, ruining her reputation. Ayu had been married into the Zhao family for 2 years without conceiving. Fearing her in-laws would reject her, she made a malicious proposal. She would let her husband defile her own younger sister, Ah Ling, so that the child could be born and raised by the Zhao family.
After the child was born, the Zhaos, seeing it was a baby girl, callously abandoned her. To cover up the scandal, Ayu tricked her simple-minded brother into going outside, then pushed him into the reservoir to drown him, eliminating the threat at its root. All the filthy, sordid, and utterly unconscionable deeds of the past were laid bare one by one within the illusion, leaving no room for concealment.
As the illusion faded, everyone snapped back to reality. The villagers below wept in a sea of tears, and Grandfather, overcome with rage, grabbed a teacup and hurled it viciously at the village chief. Third Master Li immediately moved the trap slab aside, only to discover that Big Monkey had already broken through the wall and fled, leaving no trace behind.
Chapter 18. Damn it. As the illusion ended, all the long-buried sordid secrets were laid bare. The villagers saw clearly the evil deeds of the village chief, Ah Yu, the Zhao family, and Zhang the Lame, and they all cursed and raged with indignation. Old Master Li noticed that the trap wall had been blasted open by the great horse monkey, and the beast had already escaped.
He silently cursed his misfortune. Before anyone could react, the great horse monkey suddenly leaped out of the dry well in the courtyard, landing right in front of the village chief. It wrapped its massive paws tightly around the village chief's head, its sharp claws and fangs viciously tearing and gnawing at him.
Witnessing the great horse monkey exacting revenge right before their eyes, everyone froze in terror, too afraid to approach. In mere moments, the village chief's body was torn to pieces, his internal organs scattered across the ground. The great horse monkey rummaged through the blood and flesh, crushing the village chief's still beating heart to end his sinful life.
The bloody, gruesome scene sent shockwaves through the crowd. The village chief's wife, having witnessed the full truth and her husband's gruesome death, felt her heart turn to ashes. She closed her eyes and calmly awaited her fate. Just as the great monkey was about to attack her, 4-year-old Yaya broke free from her embrace and rushed forward to shield her grandmother.
Spreading her tiny arms wide, she faced the great monkey, whose malevolence was reaching the heavens, her voice babyish yet unwavering. "Don't you dare hurt my grandma!" Looking at the innocent and pure Yaya, the great monkey's blood-red pupils narrowed slightly. He slowly raised his claws, and the malevolent aura surrounding him gradually dissipated.
Third Uncle Lee immediately drew his bow and nocked an arrow, ready to stop the beast from striking again, but I called out to stop him, "Third Uncle, don't shoot it, it's crying!" Everyone stared in astonishment as they saw tears welling up in the corners of the ferocious great monkey's eyes, filled with sorrow and despair.
Seizing the moment while everyone was stunned, the great monkey leaped into the air, vanishing onto the rooftops in a few bounds before fleeing into the woods on the back mountain. From that day on, it never came down to wreak havoc again. The cycle of vengeance and slaughter had finally come to an end. The evildoers had all met a gruesome death, and the innocent child had been spared.
As the villagers looked upon the chaos strewn across the ground, their hearts were filled with mixed emotions. No one harbored hatred toward the giant monkey ape anymore. Instead, they felt pity for it, realizing that human hearts could be treacherous, and that sometimes people were far more vicious and despicable than even the most ferocious beasts or spirits.
Following this ordeal, the village chief's wife suffered a mental breakdown and lost her sanity, leaving her unable to care for Yaya. Widow Leo, a kind-hearted woman, voluntarily took in both Yaya and Nanan, the orphan daughter of the Zhao family. Filled with guilt, the villagers donated money, food, and clothing, working together to help Widow Leo raise the two unfortunate children.
No one dared to criticize or ostracize her anymore. The isolated mountain village gradually returned to peace. The town sent workers to clear the landslide-blocked mountain path, reconnecting the long isolated village with the outside world. Yet the tragic massacre orchestrated by the great monkey in its quest for vengeance became a taboo memory passed down through generations in the village.
A story no one dared to mention lightly. Chapter 19. The 5 Immortals. From that day on, the great Monkey King vanished completely into the depths of the mountains, never to appear in the village again. The killing had ended, and the turmoil had subsided. I remained curious and pressed my grandfather, asking whether supernatural beings who commit violence would face divine retribution.
Grandfather sighed deeply, reflecting on the complexities of the world. Sometimes human hearts are so treacherous. Truly, they are no better than loyal beasts. Mr. Lee explained to me with a smile that when Mr. Yu had stormed off back then, it was because he had long since seen through the hidden truths and understood that the great horse monkey's revenge was justified.
The great horse monkey had once wept to Mr. Yu, recounting all it had endured. Moved by compassion, Mr. Yu promised that once it had settled its scores, he would help conceal the truth and shield it from the wrath of heaven. It's only because Master Yu has the support of the Dragon Lord that he has the power to shield the mountain demon from divine retribution, said Third Master Lee with deep admiration.
Ever since I was a child, my grandmother has told me the legend of the 5 immortals of the Northeast. The fox, weasel, hedgehog, snake, and rat immortals. Led by the fox immortal, the weasel, hedgehog, snake, and rat immortals each follow their own paths of cultivation. Beyond them, there are all manner of wild mountain spirits who protect the land and punish evildoers.
As for the water dragon behind Mr. Yu,
Its cultivation far surpasses that of the ordinary 5 immortals. It is a python that has cultivated itself into a water dragon and may one day transform into a true dragon. Its spiritual power is profound and unfathomable. I casually mentioned that I had once seen the dragon-shaped apparition behind Miss
You, and both Grandfather and Third Master Li were immediately startled. Third Master Li, visibly agitated, grabbed my shoulders and pressed, "You can see the apparitions of the immortals?" I nodded blankly, puzzled as to why the two were so shocked. Third Master Li explained plainly that ordinary mortals, with their mortal eyes, could not possibly see the true forms or ethereal shadows of immortals.
Only spirit mediums, those with the eyes of yin and yang, or children blessed with a connection to the immortal realm, could catch a glimpse of the immortal's presence. Upon hearing this, Grandfather's expression grew grave, and he was unwilling to discuss the matter further. He knew full well that those with a divine connection faced a difficult fate.
Easily becoming entangled by immortal beings and enduring countless trials and tribulations. Take Mr. Yu from Shihuangni, for instance. At the age of 9, he was beset by a dragon immortal, leaving him mentally unstable for many years. It wasn't until adulthood that he established his own spiritual sanctuary to stabilize his divine connection, a suffering that ordinary people could scarcely bear.
Just as we were chatting, my parents finally entered the village, carrying bags and packages. As soon as the mountain road was cleared, they rushed back to take me back to the city. After 2 months apart, I finally saw my parents again. Overjoyed, I ran toward them, and the fear and gloom that had hung over the mountain village for days vanished completely in that moment.
I eventually left that eerie mountain village in northeast China, but the legend of the great monkey, Ah Ling's tragedy, the duality of human nature, and the secrets of the northeast spiritual world are forever etched in my childhood memories. I also gradually came to understand that the most terrifying things in this world are not the spirits of the mountains and wilderness,
but the greed, jealousy, and malice hidden deep within the human heart.